Oi, oi, vibes here.
I'm DJ Macca. This is Paul Louise.
Hi, my name's Robbie Edwards.
My name's MC Stuart K.
I'm DJ Reverend.
Hey, this is Mark Simon. I'm John Edge. MC Lloyd Wheels.
Sarah.
Stevie Wonder. Hi, this is Bob K.
I'm Les Calvert. I'm DJ City T.
Yes, this is JFMC. You're listening to the Couture 303 podcast
With J Viper, baby.
Welcome back, everyone, to a very different episode of the Couture 303 podcast. I have, in the past, had DJs, MCs, and sometimes singers on, but today's a little bit different. This guy's not really known for his prowess in the music industry, but he's making his own path and making his own way in a different way. We'll go on that a little bit more later. Welcome to the show. It's Stuart K. Mm-hmm. There he is.
Thank you very much. Cheers for having us, Jay.
So for those who don't know, Stuart runs a page or a site, or what would you call it?
Well, a YouTube channel, really.
A YouTube channel. Stuart runs a YouTube channel called Hardcore History. Now, I first became aware of Stu when he did a video. I think it might have been on Stu Allen, or it might have been. I don't know which one it was, but it caught my eye, and I commented, and he commented back, and we've had a little bit of a rapport going back and forth. As we just discussed off camera, then we've got quite a lot in common as well. With our paths and how we've got to where we are today. And a couple of people mentioned getting them on the show, and I thought, you know what? It's not all about getting the fucking big hitters on. It's about grassroots stories, you know, and the people like yourself, like me, you've gone out your way to create this channel, and it's fucking phenomenal, by the way. The production is fantastic. I've really, really enjoyed them. I've watched about 4 or 5 of them. I've learned a lot, and obviously you give me a little mention as well. So without further ado, mate, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
I'm just waffling on there. Forget you're even here.
That's all right. You just carry on.
Yeah. So, as we do with all my guest viewers, I'm sure you're aware. I don't think you've seen a couple of the shows, so I'm going to start as I always start. Where and when were you born, mate?
Okay, so November 1980, I was born Preston, Lancashire. Was actually where I was born. Born and bred, but moved away years later. But yeah, I'm a northern boy through and through.
You can tell.
I've still got the accent, which I quite like. It makes me quite unique down here in the Midlands. So it's that was me really, 1980. Yes.
Yeah, so what was your whole unit like? You got all the brothers and sisters or like that?
Yeah, so one brother, one sister, both younger than me.
Okay.
Musical family, you know. My dad was a guitarist, well, still is. I think he's up to about 11 guitars he's got at the moment. He's driving crazy with it. So he's a guitarist. Mum plays piano, a bit like me. My brother dabbled in bass guitar, but never really sort of went any further with that. My sister, saxophone. Saxophone, mate, yeah. That's
become a bit of a thing now in the house, hasn't it? Johnny Sax and Johnny Crane and Ellie Sax and all that kind of stuff. It's mad how that's became a thing, isn't it? I mean, when we were younger, the saxophone was Careless Whisper. That was it.
That's right, yeah, that's what we had.
And what was the other one? Fucking, was it Baker Street?
Baker Street, of
course. They were
the
big saxophone hits, weren't they?
That's right, yeah. You've seen a lot of real instruments in sort of electronic music now as well, sort of house and things. So you've seen a lot more of that, I think.
Yeah. So what did your dad? You say your dad played guitar? Was it rhythm, lead, bass?
Bit of both. So mainly rhythm, but he does love to play a bit of lead as well. Just his favourite song to play was always "House of the Rising Sun," Animals.
Yeah.
He could always
find. He won that as well, didn't
he? Yeah.
He must have the fingers for it, like.
Yeah. I'm not sure he does now. He's like an advanced version of me. Sort of. Yeah. He's 20 years on. Not 20 years. 4 years on from. 24 years on from me. Sorry. So like. His fingers are going shorter, and I can see mine are going shorter as well. You know?
So, what was school like for the young Stu then?
Yeah, it was all right. I was a bit of a nerd, bit of a geek. Sort of kept myself to myself and me close sort of friends, if you will, my close circle of friends. That was where I really got into the music. The high school I went to, I'd been to, you know, the olden days when you go around and look for what school you want to go to at the end of primary school, and I went to a couple of schools, and the one I chose, the only reason I chose it was because of the music department, because they had all this gear and stuff that was music. I'd sort of self-taught myself how to play keyboard and then moved on to piano. Mum and Dad sent me to a few lessons, but they were getting a bit miffed with me because they'd send me home with like a couple of sheets to learn out of a book, and I'd come back the next week and go, which one do you want me to play out of the book? I've learned them all.
Yeah.
So I was advancing too quickly for him. They couldn't keep up. So I sort of had a conversation with Mum and Dad and said, don't bother sending us anymore, because there's no point in spending the money sending me there when I can just do this at home.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So yeah, I chose the high school because of the music facilities there, and really got into the music there. I mean, it was all Atari STs and things like that back then. So it was, nothing like what we've got now. But it was an introduction to it. And that's where I really sort of got into the piano as well, because my music teacher was a pianist herself, and she sort of pushed me more on that side.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, there's only, you 1980 you were born?
80, yeah.
So there's a 5-year difference between you and I. Now, when I went to school, the music department was a triangle and a tambourine. It just shows you how things advance in such a short time. I mean, I've had this conversation on a previous podcast. I imagine it's a lot different now. Obviously, the electronic music scene is really, really booming. But when I was a kid, music, like I say, music was the fucking recorder.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't. No one. I'm 48. I've never seen anyone play a recorder on stage in my whole fucking life. I mean, stood there in a chord with triangle. Yeah, I learned this in school. So you mentioned Atari STs and stuff like that. So is that how you got into music production, was it?
It was, yeah, because they had the 2 MIDI ports on the side. So back then it was everyone either went Amiga or Atari. But Atari had the direct MIDI ports on the side, so I could plug all the keyboards and things into it. And I got a copy of Cubase 3 off of a guy. A copy. That interestingly didn't require it. So they had back then, they had I'm going to really geek out on you. They had like a dongle that plugged into the side of the Atari, and that was like what the e-licenser is now. Interestingly, my copy didn't need that one, so it just worked.
It's funny that, isn't it?
But yeah, it was. So I got into Cubase really early on. And used Cubase throughout much of my life. I'm not on Cubase anymore because I finally decided to bite the bullet and spend some money on the software I was using,
Oh, you fucking got too big for it now and turned your back on it.
No.
Yeah, fuck you, Cubase. I'm going to fucking Ableton.
I tried Ableton, couldn't get on with it.
Really? So what do you use now?
Studio One I use now, Persona. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but it was I could do rent to own. It was one of the first few that did the rent to own thing, so I did that with it, and it was cheap enough. It was like 12 quid a month or something, and that was it. I had it fully functioning. Yeah,
it's one of them, and I think with music production, it's what you can. They're all pretty much the same.
Yeah,
and you'll get your Logic fucking geeks, and you'll get your Ableton geeks, and you'll get your people who are adamant that FL shoes. They're all good. It's what they do in the counter. And the analogy I always use is when I was younger, like most kids, I picked up a guitar, and you go to the guitar shop and you're looking around the walls, and there's fucking 10 grand guitars and 15 grand guitars, and your mum's looking at the £99 one with an amp. Yeah. But the fella picks it up and he fucking shreds on it, and you think, fucking hell, he's fucking. So it's what you can do with it that counts.
What you do with it, yeah, definitely.
So you started music production on the Atari ST?
Yes, on the Atari with Cubase, yeah. So it was, nothing fancy. I mean, around that time, we're talking sort of mid to late 90s, well, more mid 90s, I suppose, really, 94, 95. I didn't have at home things like Akai samplers and Junos and Alphas and stuff like that. It was very much Yamaha based stuff that I had at home, but I made do with what I had. I used to make a lot of backing tracks for my dad. So my dad had a Roland sound canvas sound module, which sounded great. But he wanted some stuff to play along to. So I used to sort of create little MIDI files and stuff for him so that he could play them through the sound canvas and while he was playing along. So a lot of that sort of stuff. So I would say probably a lot of what I did early on was more learning how to use the software, not necessarily how to use, well, now VSTs and stuff like that, and how to use synths. I did have one unit, one keyboard that you could change little parameters on the the ADSR and stuff like that on it. And I played about with that, but I wouldn't say I made any sounds that would be listenable sounds, more soundscape stuff.
I think I had an Atari ST back in the day. I think it was an Atari ST with Octamed. A friend of mine, Kev Mack, who was one of the first people I knew got into music production. And what he used to do was he'd sample bits of tracks. So, like example, you might have the kick out of fucking hard, fucking what's it called, Bass X, hardcore disco. Get the kick out of hardcore disco, and then the offbeat out of Now Is the Time, and then the riff out of something else, and he put them on, and he put them in. It was all noughts and zeros, and it wasn't bad. Like, it was real rudimentary stuff. Like, but so you got into the music competition when you were younger, didn't you?
Yeah, that was at high school. It was nothing really.
Was it Britain's Got Talent?
No, it wasn't. It was some. It was
Preston's Got Talent.
It was Yamaha who hosted it. Some Yamaha songwriting competition. And at school we had bits of gear, so we had an Akai sampler, and we had this. I seem to remember it was a Tascam 8-track. With a cassette tape that you could record onto, sort of thing. So I recorded it all on that and well, mixed it, so to speak, on that. I mean, I knew nothing of anything like that. With the sampler going with a few bits and pieces as well. And then and my mum wrote some lyrics for it. Trying to support her son, sort of thing.
That's fucking boss, though, isn't it?
Yeah. And I sung them really badly. I'm not a singer. That day I learned I am not a singer. I never will be. I sung them and I sent my tape off, and I got a lovely letter back saying, it wasn't for us.
Yeah. So when did you start getting? So obviously, what age is this now?
So this was probably sort of 13, 14. Not very old at all.
Yeah, not bad. That's okay. So at what point did you start getting into, like, what kind of stuff were you making back then?
So really experimentally. Just bits of all sorts of noises. It was like, have you ever seen the Friends episode where Ross starts with the Imagine that was me.
Brilliant. Hasn't he got the keyboard on an island board or something?
Just with random noises going off every now and then and stuff. And it was strange.
It is experimental, though, isn't it?
It is.
You got to do that. So when did you start branching off into, like, the dance music scene? Was it what was your first? Was it hardcore or was it house?
No, house was what I first started getting into. So early stuff like the KLF and Nomad and stuff like that. Sort of early 90s house.
Yeah.
That was I'd never really got the Chicago house stuff in the late 80s. That bypassed me. But yeah, that's when I really started to get interested in electronic music. It was it spoke to me a little bit more than the rock and the blues and stuff that I'd previously, because previous to that I'd listened to what mum and dad listened to, because they'd have the stereo on or whatever. So that was more me sort of gaining my own sort of thing out of music. They hated electronic music, and that just wasn't their thing at all. So that was me branching out to that. And then I suppose really I went through school sort of through that SL2 liquid sort of era, and then through into a few mates of mine started getting into hardcore and jungle. And they'd get tape packs and stuff, and that we'd listen to them together, and I was sort of started to get into that as well. And then Bonkers came around, and all of a sudden this tape was being passed around that we were all listening to in our little like Walkmans and stuff, and in the headphones.
One each.
And yeah, that was it. It was fun, and that's what I think I liked about it. I loved the earlier '90s stuff because that was so it was fresh. There was nothing like that previously. But then when we got to sort of the mid '90s and I started listening to more of the happy hardcore stuff, it was fun, and it was energetic, and it was fast. I love my music fast. I've always been told off for the pitch faders getting a bit a bit too far down when I'm having a mix.
But Bonkers was pretty groundbreaking because it was the first time a major label, which React, had released something of that nature. You know, happy hardcore was getting that big that even like the bigger labels, which you know, React had like fucking Mrs. Woods on and Tony DeVee and stuff like that, and all of a sudden it's got fucking Hixie and Sharky, and we're like, wow, what the fuck, you know? And for me personally, I've never really been a fan of the happier side of hardcore. Yeah, it's ironic, really. I'm a very happy person. When it comes to me music, I like it fucking angry and aggressive and nasty. I mean, I'm sat here in the fucking bright fluorescent yellow fucking hoodie, sitting like a Cheshire cat, and I'd rather listen to like fucking Anger Fist or something. So for me, when I think it was Bonkers 3, when Sharky had started to come through with the freeform stuff, that's when it really caught my eye. And we had a gig in we were going to Northern Ireland, so we had to drive from Liverpool to Holyhead in my mate's dad's car. Shouts out to John Edge and his dad, who's always there. And we had this gig in Northern Ireland, and all the way there, we had the Bonkers 3 CD on, and it pretty much got us all the way there. Like, and that birth of freeform, like the late Bonkers stuff on the singles and the early New Energy stuff. Fucking hell, that fucking blew me away. That really did. So you introduced the happy hardcore. What type of stuff you listen to? Who was your favourite artist back then? Was anyone catch your ear?
Back then, I loved a bit of Seduction and Demo. They were sort of me. Stompy, he was always a favourite of mine back then. I was similar to you, so I now not so much of a fan of the happy stuff. I find it quite difficult to play the happy stuff now, even the stuff I was into back then, because I was the same. I sort of transcended the first Bonkers I actually bought was Bonkers 3, and it was the same thing because of the Sharky set as it was then because it was in my car, It was. It's a weird one. It's a difficult one for me to look back on now and go, I really liked this person or that person, because when I sort of think about the music now, not that it's bad music.
Your taste change and you mature over years, don't you?
That's it.
I don't eat Cheerios anymore.
Right, okay,
I'm a big boy now. I have Weetabix. So are you still making music at this point?
I am struggling to find time to, but yeah, a lot of my creative energy is going into hardcore history at the moment.
Sorry, I've mixed it. I mean, at the point where you're getting into happy hardcore, so that was my mistake. So are you making music at that point?
Not really. So by that point, I'd progressed from leading up to sort of going into college. So 96, 97. I'd progressed from having an Atari ST. I now had a PC, old 386 thing.
But a fucking big monitor about that big. Yeah, like a cube.
That was it. I think the only game I had on it was Linked Golf, which wasn't very interesting. I never liked golf, I used to do bits on, what was it called? There was a program called Cool Edit Pro. So I used to do bits and pieces of little like mash-uppy type things with that. But I virtually stopped production-wise making anything. Even the MIDI files had dropped off for my dad, because by that point he'd sort of gotten over that, and new stuff was being discovered. Of course, but you were starting to move in towards that late 90s, the early MP3 era, when he could, instead of it being sounding like a sampled sound thing that he was using for his backing tracks. It could sound a bit more like an actual backing track. So even that dropped off. I got back into it again after college, probably early 2000s. I'd also sort of slipped away from happy hardcore and everything by that point, and was more into trance, hard house.
The hardcore scene pretty much fell off a cliff at that point, didn't it? It's seen a massive resurgence in the past, I'd probably say 10 years maybe. It's creeped up to a bit of a crescendo, but you're right, around that time I think there was too many factions. There was the happy hardcore, there was the jungle techno, there was the free form, and then bounce came along, and then hard house came along. There was too much going on, and hardcore sadly just got left behind. But it's made a better comeback than Tyson Fury.
It has made a comeback lately. It has. So that was around that sort of time, and I was big on the old Scouse House scene as well. Again, it was the fun of it, it was the energy of it, it was. I used to spend a lot of time in Wigan Pier and Maxime's. And then that's when I got back into the music production. Was probably the early 2000s, 2002, maybe 2003, that sort of age. Starting to get into a lot of breakbeat stuff. New school breaks was a fantastic time for breakbeat. Sort of almost like drum and bass slowed down to about 140 BPM. And then we're going around in that circle again now. Dad saw a video from TC recently, and he said, "Oh, this is what if I make D&B at 140?" And I'm like, "We used to do that."
So what about DJs? Did you what? I see you've got decks in the background there, and I know you've done some mixes on your channel as well. At what point did you get into the DJing side of things?
The DJing was while I was at college. So that was a failed attempt at college. Didn't finish that. Loved the party life instead, and I need to go out partying. So that fell by the wayside.
Don't forget, you can catch me each and every Thursday night for my show, Absolute Old School, only on In Demand Radio, where I play you 2 hours of classics and a feast of forgotten gems, usually on the harder side of the spectrum. We kick off with the early 90s every week, and then we have the trance flashback section, followed by the spotlight section. In the past, we've featured clubs and events like Kinetic, The Drome, Good Grief, labels like Tidy Tracks, Bonsai and Shock, and artists such as Ultrasonic, Tony DeVee and Scott Brown. We always finish off nice and tough with the Go Hard or Go Home section. You can catch it on In Demand Radio Thursday nights from 11 PM, or listen back absolutely free of charge on indemandradio.com, or download the free In Demand Radio app for Apple or Android.
I went to, it was a friend of mine invited me to his friend's house. And we went round there just to, have a bit of a chill, as you do as young lads. And he had a set of decks. Can't tell you what sort of decks or anything. What I can tell you is the first 2 tunes I ever mixed together badly, which was Lange, Drifting Away, and Lasgo, Something. So it was that sort of era. Trance. So I asked to have a go and had a go and fell in love with it there and then. I didn't do very well then.
Vinyl decks, like
vinyl decks, yeah.
Old school.
It could have been belt drives, could have been direct. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. It was a long time ago. Then it never really touched any since. But after that, for a few years. But what I did do was I took that idea into Cool Edit Pro, and Acid Pro after that. What was it? Yes, Sonic Vegas or something. I think. Acid Pro, because you could map the tempos in Acid Pro, so I could do these mashups in there. I took the idea into there, and I used to create little 15-minute mini mixes and stuff in Acid Pro, to get the idea behind sort of phrases and stuff like that. So you're learning the fundamentals of what a track is and what it's made. And then a mate of mine was being kicked out of his house, and he needed somewhere to store his deck. So he asked me if he could store them at my house, along with all his records.
Go on then.
And I went, you can do, but the condition is, can I set him up and practice? I'd like to get into it. And he's like, yeah, of course you can. Away you go. So, and then that was it. That was me hooked.
Yeah. So what year was that?
That was probably that would have been really early late 1999, early 2000s sort of time.
So there's a bit of to bring us to where we are now, there's a bit of a gap there. Obviously, me and you were talking because of this YouTube channel. What so in between, in that little stopgap, what did you do? Were you just a regular Joe? Get 9 to 5?
Pretty much. I mean, I floated about a lot of different jobs. Never could really tie me down to one. I couldn't. I couldn't really commit to anything until I was about 30. It was like I was just a party animal, shall I say? I lived for the party life. I couldn't tell you what I was doing work week on week, but I could tell you if I was going out on a particular Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. It was just that was my life, and I spent a lot of my 20s doing that. When I could have been putting what I know now into action and probably doing a lot of different things with my life than what I have done. Yeah. But it's fine. There's no regrets on that. I've now pulled myself back. But, I mean, DJing out and stuff in the 2000s, early 2000s, mid 2000s. Yeah, it was a lot of it was. I'd go along with a group of friends, to a pub that they were going to be DJing at, and like it'd be, fancy a break. Do you want to take over for a bit, Stu? That type of thing. Never really got into sort of promoting myself to go out there and push myself for any gigs or anything like that. Because I much preferred being the other side of the DJ, but on a Friday and Saturday night, it was just where I preferred to be.
It's a very so around that time, I think it's safe to say not everybody, but a lot of people had decks. I remember the frustrations myself. Obviously, I started DJing in the mid to late 90s. Excuse me. And I think I was lucky because I was still kind of one of the earlier ones to jump on the bandwagon, if you like. But by the time the early 2000s came, I felt like everybody had decks, and it was such a so diluted, and it got to a case where I play in DJ competitions, and it was literally it wasn't a DJ competition. It was like Britain's Got Talent now. It was a popularity contest. Well, this student's got 80 mates who's going to come with him. Well, guess what? He gets through to the next round. You know what I mean? This DJ's fucking standing on his head and scratching with his feet. Nah, there's only 2 people there to watch him, so he doesn't get through. It's a very frustrating thing to get through in. And I think more so now. I mean, I'm on like my 3rd bite of the cherry now, by the way. I was DJing in the mid to late 90s, and then I fucked it off for a couple of years. And then at that point, it was like hardcore and freeform I was playing.
Yeah.
I actually I played in a competition one day in Liverpool, and Ribs was emceeing for me. That was my little claim to fame back then. Like, MC Ribs emceed for my set. And then I walked away for a good few years. And then when I come back, the hard house scene had started to boom. So we had likes of, I think the first one I heard was like Walk Brothers, We Will Survive.
Nice.
And I was like, fucking hell, this is really fucking, like, we used to call that techno 5 years ago. Yeah. Now it's called hard house. So I got back into that and had moderate success, played a few gigs here and everywhere. And then I walked away for about 12, 13 years. And it was only when COVID came about and I had more time on my hands, I got myself a little Pioneer fucking DDJ 400, like a fucking selection box, little tiny thing. I couldn't believe how good it was. I had to bear in mind in that 12-year gap of me leaving, everything had changed. It was fascinating. Yeah. So where's your DJ? What's your DJing at now? Is it something you're still pushing towards, or?
Do you know, not as much. I like to play for myself.
You play with yourself. That's a very honest thing to say online.
It's a very honest thing to say.
On camera as well. Okay, now.
I don't like that pressure, I've got to play this track because they want it, or do you know what I mean? Because someone wants it. I just like to put music together that I like to put together. So I like the freedom of that. So I'm not really pushing as such for it. Don't get me wrong. If anyone wants to book me, then by all means. I've not played in a club or pub setting for about 20 years, but I'm sure we'll fudge something together.
See, I'm a bit similar to yourself. I'm suppose in some ways I'm a bit of a selfish DJ. So I think that one of the reasons why I walked away for 12 years was the scene that I loved, which at the time was like hard dance, hard house, hard trance, early hard style. In the Northwest, were gone. You only really had Good Grief and the Tidy Weekenders. And to, obviously to get on the stage of that magnitude, you needed to be basically fucking doing big things. So I had the choice then. I can go down the funky house route and play stuff that I don't particularly like, or I can be true to myself and go, you know what? That would be disingenuous if I'm stood on a stage pretending to like this 130 BPM track that fucking it sounds like someone scratching a chalkboard with the nails to me. That would just be disingenuous. So I left it. I left the scene, and it was only when the old school resurgence came. There was a guy called John Edge who used to be my MC. He runs a night called we had a night in Liverpool called the Hard Dock. I don't know whether you remember it or not.
Okay.
It was like that was our hardcore venue in the late 90s, the Hard Dock or the Dock. And a guy called Lee Hall and my mate who used to be my MC, John Edge, they're mates together, and they started this night called Back to the Dock, and it was music inspired by the Dock. And it was by this point they'd been going 2 or 3 years, and John said to me, "Do you want to jump on? I can get you the set. I've spoke to Lee, I'll get you on."
Yeah.
And I was like, I came home and said to my missus, bear in mind, I've been with my missus about 10 years at this point, and she'd never seen me DJ. I said, "Oh, John wants me to play it this night." And she went, "You're going to do it?" And I went, "No." And she went, "Why not?" And I went, "Don't know." So, okay, so I give it a go, and I fucking loved it. Yeah, so and that's how I kind of come back into it at all. So you did some online DJing as well, didn't you?
Bits of online DJing. I got involved quite early with the old Shoutcast DJing online. So websites where you could create your own radio station and list it on the website, sort of thing. I did bits and pieces of that and probably broadcasted to all of 0 people because it was back then. And then I got into a game. I used to play a lot of games and stuff, and I got into this online game called Second Life, where you could rent a parcel of land. You could build something on it, and then you could make in-game currency off it, if you will.
You built a nightclub.
I built a nightclub.
Yes, it's right, Stu.
I thought, this is it. I'm going to build a nightclub. Loads of people are going to come. And
if you build it, they will come.
Exactly that. So I built this nightclub, and it was lovely, and I sort of went around and found all these DJs to come and play and stuff, and they'd sort of stand there and play to 4 or 5 people, and not 100, 4 or 5 people, though, And then I closed that one down because I thought, this is, it's just a money pit. You're just constantly paying out for people to come and play or what have you. So I closed that down and went, this is not for me, and just became a DJ in there. I thought, well, if I'm not spending out every month on paying for the land and whatnot and the DJs, then I can at least go and earn some money doing it. And you don't really earn that much either.
It's sad, isn't it? And if I look back at how much I've put into the industry with regards buying equipment and music and travel and all that, to how much I've had out, it's not a living, mate. It's a fucking expensive hobby is what it is.
Very expensive. My missus will attest to that one.
Yeah. The one thing I will say though, if you buy decent equipment nowadays, it does hold its value really well.
It does.
Yeah, so what's your current setup now then?
So at the moment, I've got a pair of Stanton T62s, just cheapies, that I got for an absolute steal. I did have a Behringer mixer in the middle there that died on me.
I remember seeing you post on YouTube recently.
Yeah, it was. And again, to be fair, I got an absolute steal on that one, and the fact that it's lasted me 2 years, I've had a bit of a winner out of that one as well. At the moment, I've got my new Tractor S5 there. So when the mixer broke, it was a choice of do I get another mixer? Potentially for, the sort of money I was looking at spending, it was a lottery again. Used market it's always a bit of a lottery. Or this S5 came up that a mate of mine down the road had sat there gathering dust, and he went, "I've barely used it, Stu. If you want to buy this, you can have it." So I chose that because I've got the hardcore history mixes that I've committed to every month. I don't want to be leaning on people all the time going, "Oh, can you do a mix for us? Can you do?" You guys, I'd just rather do it myself and get it out of the way. Plus, it means I get the opportunity to have a bit of a mix as well. So I made the decision to do that, and then I can save up and treat myself to something a bit nicer on the mixer, and then maybe get around to replacing the decks at some point in the future as well.
So you've mentioned it there, hardcore history. How did this come about? Was this? It all starts with an idea, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does. So I've always liked documentaries. I've always liked learning about people. I don't read fiction. If I ever read a book, it's always an autobiography or something like that. Sorry, non-fiction. Fiction. I was right though.
Which one's the Bible again?
Yeah. It's debatable.
Yeah. Not now, I was it isn't me.
So I've always had an interest in people. Hardcore history, you can look at it two ways why I created this. One of the ways is because I'm quite an intelligent bloke, and I've looked around and gone, no one's doing this. Someone should be doing this, and sort of put the idea together. The other is it's an analogy I used the other day to a mate of mine, and I said to him, I says, what I've done effectively is I've walked into the middle of the hardcore scene and started screaming, "Look at me! Notice me!"
But it's working, mate. And it's similar to myself. I seen a bit of a gap in the market myself. So my podcast came out almost accidentally, really. It's well documented now, but I interviewed the aforementioned Lee Hall, who ran Back to the Dock. Yeah. I was playing at his events, and I was running a website for these t-shirts and hoodies I was doing. And I thought, as a way to cross-promote my stuff with his stuff, I'll do an interview with him. And I sat in his kitchen. I had a H1 Zoom, a fucking little handheld thing on his kitchen table. Fucking cats walking around by my ankles and all that. And it was shit on my part. In Lee's defence, he was okay. But on my part, it was dead wooden. It was dead scripted. That's why, as I said to you before, I don't have questions anymore. I have bullet points, because what I don't want is, so how long have you been a fan of dance music? And I listened back to that interview, the first one I did. I'm honest to God, my fucking toes were like that. I had arthritis in my feet. And I thought, I'll do another one. I've got to redeem myself here. I know I can do better than that. So I did another one. And then in the meantime, I started thinking, there's a bit of a gap in the fucking market here, because no one's doing, what I'm doing. There was, what was the guy called who did the 90s rave podcast?
Oh, Raw.
Yes.
Raw. Yeah.
Yes. And I think I've said this before. He said, my next guest coming up is Sharky. And I was like, oh, brilliant. I can't wait. I'm fucking I'm a big Sharky fan. My favourite hardcore DJ, one of my favourite MCs of all time, fantastic producer. I've met him once in 1998. Fucking couldn't believe it. I thought, I can't wait for that. And then this guy come on his channel saying, listen, basically, it's come to the point now, which I'm sure you're aware of, there's no money involved in this. It's taken a lot of my time, a lot of my money, a lot of my effort. Something else has come up, and I can't justify doing this anymore. So unfortunately, the last episode is going to be the last one. So the Sharky one didn't happen. And then I thought, I wonder if I could do it. So I reached out to Sharky and I said, "Hi mate, if I send you a t-shirt, would you wear it?" I just send, and he fucking got back to me. Yeah. So I gave him my number, and I was stood in here on a Saturday morning one morning, and the phone went, "Hello mate, it's John," and I went, "I'm a little fanboy. It's Sharky." All right, John. All right, John, yeah.
We've had the exact same
Totally.
experience with Sharky. Exactly the same experience.
It's mad. He's such a fucking diamond, and
Yeah.
he's so down to
100
earth.
mile an hour, though. 100
Oh, my
mile an
God.
hour.
I've been trying to fucking nail that cunt down for a podcast for over 12 months now. So he's probably not going to watch this, but someone who knows him might watch it.
Yeah.
Give him a fucking nudge and tell him to fucking get back to Jay. Honest to God, he's an absolute fucking nightmare. Sorry, I'm rambling now. I'm rambling. So, back to your story. I do apologise.
Right. No, I did. Because of hardcore history, I had exactly the same experience with John. Sat there one day and the phone rings and it was exactly the same. And again, I was, huge Sharky fan myself. And it was surreal.
Has he come on to you yet?
No.
No,
I'm not his type. He
thinks I fancy him. I think it's the other way around, to be honest with you. I think he's trying to mask the fact that he maybe got a little thing for Uncle Jay.
Kind of reverse engineer it.
Yeah. You fancy me, don't you? No, I think you fucking fancy me, John. Come on, I've got a missus. Yeah. Fucking love. I absolutely love him. He's absolutely fun. I can't wait to actually meet him again. And like I say, hopefully it'd be great to get him on the podcast because he'd have a fantastic story. So go on. So back to how did it come about then?
So I did. I looked around. I saw there wasn't really anything much. But I, being a nobody, had zero contacts with anyone. So I tried reaching out to people, but no one ever really. Not that they didn't get back to me. Maybe they didn't have time to get back to me or whatever. But I was literally a nobody. No one knew me. So I thought, well, how can I do it where I can tell this story but not have necessarily contact? So I just went to set about researching. And I chose Darren Styles because on initial inspection there was the most information about him, and I thought, well, it's an easy one to do. It sort of dips my toe in the pond a little bit and see how I get on. Because of course, also as well as that, there was, can I really do it? I'd never put myself on camera before, and it was very much out of my comfort zone. I was writing a story, a factual story at that, but I was writing a story about a person, and then I was going to present this story to the world or the 8 subscribers that I had 30 ago. So that was that, and I put out the Darren Styles one, and almost instantly started getting comments saying this is brilliant, this is a great idea, and that sort of G'd me up to carry on doing it.
Yeah, like I say, when I first seen it, I kind of went, you know what, he's fucking onto something here, and I thought it again, similar to myself. I had no contacts, I didn't know anyone. How it came about with me was I was on Facebook at the time, and I reached out to a couple of local DJs, Steve McGee. My mate City G, and they said they'd wear a t-shirt. It was at Back to the Docks, Back to the Docks 5th anniversary. They said they'd wear a t-shirt. I thought, wow. So I reached out to Tatey out of our Awesome 3, Lynn, and I said, if I give you the cap, would you wear it? And she went, yeah. I went, what about a t-shirt as well? And she went, yeah. I went, fucking hell. So I sent her a t-shirt and a cap. And then I thought, I had DJ Demand on my Facebook friends. So I asked him, and he said, yeah. So I sent him a t-shirt. I'm like, fucking hell, the fucking club's going to be full of people wearing my stuff. So I said quite cheekily, I said to Paul Demand, I said, you don't know anyone else who'd wear ones here. What about Stu Allen? He went, I'll give him a nudge. He didn't just say that. Next thing, I get a message off Demand, Paul, saying, Stu and his manager said send them a t-shirt and they'll wear it.
Brilliant.
So I went to Back to the Dock 5th anniversary, walked in, fist bumped me mate City G, he had a cap on of mine, walked past Tatey from Awesome 3, she was about to play in the main arena. On stage is fucking Stu Allen and his manager, both with my t-shirts on, walks in the fucking hardcore room and there's fucking DJ Demand. It's on. I was like, I fucking couldn't believe it. Could not believe it.
The Couture 303 podcast is now officially sponsored by Dapper Turkish Barbers in Hunts Cross.
You can find them on Wood End Avenue, and they do the full service there. The hair, the beard, the ears, the nose, the cutthroat, the hot towels, the lot. It's the only barbers I ever go to. Fantastic service, great lads. No need to book, just pop in and see them 7 days a week. If you want a nice sick fade like mine, you will not be disappointed. The absolute best in the area. That's Dapper Turkish Barbers, Wood End Avenue, Hunts Cross. And now back to the show. So what have you found? So you touched on something before there, which I've encountered. Sometimes you reach out to people and they go, I'll get back to you. And they don't, for whatever reason, because they're busy or whatever. So how have you found your relationships with some of the artists you spoke to so far?
Do you know, everyone's been amazing so far. Everyone really has. The even from sort of, Sai was the first one to ever write back to me. And he virtually wrote that entire video for me, to be honest with you. The amount of information that came back, I sent him about 3 pages, and he sent me back 18. And I thought I'd struck gold, because I was like, wow, there's all, and like the UK garage links and stuff, Trick or Treat, and I didn't even pick up on that when I first looked into him, and that sort of what that then did for me was that instilled in me that I need to look even deeper. When I am going looking, because it shows that there is more information about these guys, and I've found that this month. Al Storm I've been talking to this month, and the stuff that I found out about him is insane. The amount of music that he's had his finger in, shall we say, is it's insane, the amount. Yeah,
it's crazy, isn't it? So I'm similar to yourself. So when I first started doing the podcasts, it was people who I knew. Obviously, episode 1 was me mate Lee Hall.
Yeah.
I knew about his background, his story. Episode 2 was MC Cyanide. Big Cyanide fan. He was the main MC in the Drone when he used to go in Birkenhead in the 90s. So I knew a lot about him. And then we had episode 3 was Rob Kane, someone who I've known for many, many years on and off. I think episode 4 was DJ Macker, a friend of mine at the time. Episode 5 was Edge MC. But then you start branching into people who you don't know.
Yeah.
So I think episode 6 was Vibes. Now I knew a little bit about Shane, but I had to do a little bit of digging for that. And that's when you start going into your Discogs and you're going into your fucking Wikipedia and what's real, what's not. And then you start branching out. It's difficult when you get someone on who isn't really that mainstream, because there's not much out there. You have to do some digging. But I've got a few lined up there. I've actually spoke to someone this morning. Funny enough, when I work late, I can do my podcast in the morning. Obviously, for those listening to this or watching this now, it's Friday morning. It's 10 o'clock. It's Friday morning. It's 10 o'clock. You're tuned to Jay Viper on the Couture 335. Oh, it's just due for the weather.
It looks all right to me.
Yeah. It's fucking shite. Where was it? Yeah, so when I'm on late, I did my podcast in the morning. And obviously, to try and set the week up, I had one on Monday. So by the time this is going to go out on the 8th of November.
Okay, yeah.
So by the time this goes out, my previous guest on the 18th of October will be Dream Frequency, Ian Bland. So I spoke to him on Monday. I've got you today. And then I've just spoke to someone else then I can't say, because that's not going to be until the start. So I'll tell you when we go off camera.
Yeah.
I forgot my fucking point now. So bearing in mind, this is going to go out on the 8th of November. So you're speaking to Al Storm at the moment. And when's that going to come out? Well, that'll be out at this point now. When people
that'll be out when this is out. So I've got, I can't tell you everything. What I can tell you, so November's my birthday month. So my choice.
November the 12th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. When's that, sorry?
November the 12th.
No. 19th.
The 19th? Oh,
19th.
That cake's going to come early now. Feel bad.
What was I going to say? November's episode, I've picked for us to leave the UK for an episode.
Wow.
So we're going
getting your passport out?
It's about time. Not physically leaving. Well, I might do it on the
Don't ruin the mystique.
But yeah, it's about time we did someone from outside of the UK, I think. So that's for November, and then December, which will be the final episode for the year. I can't tell you very much at all. I've changed who it was originally going to be. So it was going to be MC Ribs.
Okay.
Because I thought, well, that'd be a nice one to finish on. I'd like to do another MC this year, because we've only so far done MC Junior. So yeah, I'd like to get another MC in this year. It's someone who's been asked for a lot by a lot of people, and I'm trying my hardest to actually tick that box off.
Yeah. We'll have a chat off camera.
Yeah. You might actually be able to help me with it. Actually,
listen. Anything I can do to help you at all. And like I say, we've got similar paths. So you're like myself. You've had a dabble in DJing, music production. You do your own graphic design, video editing, now content creating. So we have got a lot in common. And you touched on a word before the start of the podcast. You said about being a nerd. Now I think we're all nerd. I think. If you look at the DMC champion, in the world mixing champion, he's a nerd. He's got to be the world mixing champion. When you look at Tony Hawk's, the fucking best skateboarder in the world, he's the coolest thing in the world. He's still a nerd. He's had to be to get that good. You know, there's a real thing with nerds, like Slash, the guitar player. He's still a fucking nerd. He's got to be to get that good.
Yeah, he's just a fingers nerd.
yeah, fingers nerd, yeah. Love it, yeah. The only difference between a nerd and a fucking superstar is success. You know, all the people who are popular at anything, you know, Paddy Pimblett, one of the best jiu-jitsu, it's got to be a fucking nerd to get that good. Sorry, Paddy, if you're watching this, I'm not dissing you, but you've got to be nerdy about things to get good at them, because you make all them sacrifices. And all that commitment to honing your skill, whatever that skill is, whether it be jiu-jitsu, skateboarding, fucking tattooing, whatever it is, you've got to be a little bit of a nerd, I mean. Right, we're going to finish off now, Stu, as I'm sure you're aware. I can see the smile on your face already. It's the highlights of the week. It's the quick fire questions.
Go on, then.
Stuart K, I will take your first answer and your first answer only. Are you nervous?
No.
That wasn't the first question, by the way. Right. Chinese takeaway or pizza?
Oh, Chinese, every time.
What, in your estimation, is the best remix of Adagio for strings? Oh.
William Orbit's.
Yeah, that was like cut.
Sorry.
It's
Ferry
not the
Corsten.
original, but
Yeah, sorry, Ferry Corsten, weren't it, who did? Is it Ferry Corsten who did that one?
I think William Orbit was the first one, wasn't it?
William
Obviously,
Orbit
Barber's
was
Adagio for strings is a very old piece of music, but I think
Yeah.
William Orbit was the first, and then Ferry Corsten, and
Ferry
then
Corsten,
Tiesto,
yeah.
and then
Yes.
fucking everybody's to jump on the fucking bandwagon, I believe.
Yeah.
Nintendo or Sega?
Nintendo.
Full English or a roast dinner?
Oh.
I'm not offering, by the way.
Yes. I was going to say, what time do you want?
Yeah.
Roast dinner.
What meat?
Beef.
As a bonus question.
Yeah.
It's a Top Boy or Ozark?
Old Top Boy. Only recently watched that. Fantastic.
Fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal. Have you seen Ozark?
No, I've seen a bit of it. I saw the beginning bit, didn't really get into it so much.
Okay. As a friend, I'm going to politely ask you, go back and revisit Ozark. It's fucking brilliant. It really, really is. You've got £1 million to put an event on. Alive or dead, who are you putting on?
Purely because, right, I had this conversation actually recently. Purely because I'd really love to see this guy live. And out of any artist alive or dead, this is who I would want to see live. Jacko.
Yeah. I don't think you get it for £1 million, but we'll have that.
Yeah. Might do now.
Yeah. He's lost an awful lot of weight.
Yeah.
Who's the most famous person you've ever met?
It's a toss-up between Blanche from Coronation Street.
Shut up.
Seriously, or Freddie Flintoff. I went to school with Freddie Flintoff. He was the year above me.
Shut up.
Straight up.
Have you met him since? Like,
say again.
Have you met him since?
No, he's too famous now. He signed for Lancashire when he finished school. He signed for Lancashire, and the school went cricket mad. So I did everything in my power from that day onwards to hate cricket. So to be honest with you, even if we did meet up again now, I'd probably shake his hand and go, "Yeah, you're not for me, mate."
Yeah, that reminds me of that. Have you seen the film Shallow Grave, where the fella says, "I've never seen a dead body before"? He said, "Well, I seen me nan, but she was alive at the time, so I don't think that counts." You walk into a shop and it's fully stocked. What's your go-to chocolate bar?
Snickers.
Ali G or Borat?
Ali G.
What superpower would you have?
Teleporting.
Where the fuck's she going?
Yeah.
He's back.
I spent too much time travelling. I'd love to be able to do it like that.
Yeah, I'll be there in a minute. Bing, fuck me out quick. Alive or dead, who would you like to have dinner with?
Do you know? Good question. Elon Musk.
Okay.
Elon Musk.
Because he'd pay.
Yeah, he'd pay.
Hopefully, the fucking side cunt.
I'd have the biggest steak on the menu.
Yeah. Get with the lobster. I don't even like lobster. I'm going to fucking order it anyway. Give it to the fucking cat. Rocky 3 or Rocky 4?
Oh, what?
You knew it was coming. It's such a tough. Which one of my kids is the best?
Yeah. I'm gonna
have to push you for an answer, Stuart.
I know. I'm probably going to be controversial. Half your subscribers are going to disappear now. 4.
There's no harm in that, mate. Can I give it a tip? Right? There's no right answer.
True.
They're both fantastic. I'm the only person in the world, by the way, who likes Rocky 5. Even Sylvester Stallone doesn't like Rocky 5. I fucking loved it. And the final question: what's the best podcast you've ever been on?
Oh, well, it's got to be Couture 3 out of 3.
It's got to be Couture 3. We all say that. Right, Stu, thank you so much for this, mate. It's been a lot of fun. And we nearly got an hour out of it as well. Look at that.
That's all right.
You were
done all right.
There thinking it's going to be a fucking 2 pumps and a squirt.
Yeah.
Right, so so when this comes out, November the 8th, can you announce what your next one's going to be, yes or no?
No.
That's fine.
Where are we working? Hang on. 8th. So that's. I'm trying to work out what's come out. Yeah.
I mean, you could give us a world exclusive if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll do that actually for you. World exclusive. You can announce it for us. It's Paul Elstack.
Wow! Fucking hell! The big guns. Wow!
I don't know if he's going to write me back yet, but we'll see what happens.
Listen, even if he doesn't, you can just do what you've done in the past and do your research. There should be quite a bit of information on Paul Elstack. There really should.
He's done a hell of a lot of stuff, so I thought there's going to be.
Shout that, mate! Fucking hell! That's a fucking good one. That.
Yeah,
right, Stu, thank you very much for your time, your stories.
No
keep doing what you're doing, mate. Big fan of your show, big fan of your production. I'll be tuning in all the time. I always like them, and I'll put little comments on. I've subscribed as well, so if you don't already, subscribe to Stu's page. It'll be down here. It'll probably go like that somewhere, or this way, whichever way it goes. It'll be here anyway. Subscribe, and don't forget, guys, I've noticed a little caveat here. I've noticed a lot of people who watch my show don't subscribe. And Stu will attest to this. Please subscribe. It really benefits to help grow the station, grow the platform, grow the channel. So please, I know you're there all the time, but like, share, subscribe. Until next month, guys, or next 3 weeks, or whatever the next one's going to be. I know what it's going to be. I'm going to tell Stu now when we go off camera. Take care, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you.